Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our CEO Talks again. This is our last edition, and I'm very, very happy to have Diana Stafie, our guest today. Diana will talk of a different future. Over the last interviews we had, we saw how leaders are managing during this crisis and how they adapted their businesses, how they cope with the pandemic issues and the forthcoming financial issues. Today we will have a continuation of this discussion to an extent how future can look. Diana, welcome. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Also today I have back my good friend Colin Lovering, who will be doing the moderation again. I would like to give the floor to Diana to mention a few background words about yourself, what you are doing exactly, and how you can help the society.
No pressure. Thank you very much, Mamas, for the invitation. Like you are also mentioning, I am a future enthusiast, and I brought this enthusiasm to my professional activity as well. I am a foresight strategy consultant. I focus on helping clients to understand change, to spot trends, and to build future scenarios and related strategic responses. Part of my work is also research. So I'm part of several communities that focus on future and transformation, where we gather and share our research and scan and further analyze their implications. I am also an ambassador in the global scanning network of the Copenhagen Institute for Future Studies. I'm also part of the leadership team of the chapter of Singularity University. And what I also like to do from time to time is to share keynotes on topics such as future transformation, or maybe contribute with articles for publications interested in this topic. And very shortly, as a background, I'm coming from consultancy. I used to work for a Big Four company, and then as an expat in the Netherlands for within a corporate environment.
Okay, Diana, it's a pleasure to meet you, and I can feel the passion and enthusiasm drifting through as you speak. So I'm looking forward to this interview with you. You mentioned foresight there, you know, and I think about when I was a kid and people used to go to the fortune teller to try and find out what the future holds. And you use that word foresight. Can you just explain a little bit more about what that word really means?
Yes, Colin, sure. It is a pleasure to have this discussion with you. Unfortunately, I'm not a fortune teller, so I cannot really do this type of predictions. What we do is that we use foresight for investigating the future, not predicting. The concept of foresight emerged after the World War II. It was an approach to strategy, to planning, like army planning, aware of the fact that the enemy could come from different places and with different ways of attack. They were building scenarios and various strategic answers. And then the discipline was brought to the business world by Shell, the oil and gas company. And what they were doing is that in addition to the traditional planning, to the official future, let's say, they were all the time considering what if some of their major uncertainties or major assumptions they are considering are becoming reality. And this was an approach that helped them tremendously when the 73 oil crisis emerged, and also contributed to the fact that in only 2 years, from the 8th biggest oil and gas company, they ended up on number 2. So maybe easier said, if you have ever read any type of reports titles such as Future of Work 2025 or Scenarios post-COVID-19 or Future of Retail 2023. Usually this type of reports are reports that are obtained through Foresight tools and methodologies. Colin, can I make an analogy here?
Please, yeah, please.
You know, when I think about foresight in my work for clients, the analogy that comes to my mind is Waze. You know how Waze has this mission of outsmarting the traffic together. You can think of foresight with a mission of outsmarting competition together. By using this discipline, what we are doing with the clients, we are helping them to get to the preferred destination, their preferred future, by analyzing different alternatives, the same way as Waze provides different routes to get to a certain destination. We warn our clients about trends, about emerging technologies, about changes in business models, startups that are rising, the same as Waze does when it says danger ahead. And what happens is that the same way Waze takes you to the destination, we also do the same for businesses through foresight. Not all players, of course, end up to the same destination, but foresight can be one of the ways that help contribute.
It's interesting actually listening to Diana, because I use the word, I hear people use the word hindsight a lot. You know, when we say in hindsight, I wish we'd done that. In hindsight, I wish we'd known about that, which is kind of emphasizing what you're saying. So taking this sort of this model into business, I guess what you're saying is that basic intelligence and let's say assumed foresight, because we all like to think that we know that we're heading in the right direction, or we don't need the GPS or Waze or a map. We can do it on our own sort of thing with our own competencies. But I guess what you're saying for companies in Romania, this is just not good enough. They need to really create a clear, achievable options. Can you give us an example? I'm just thinking of industries that are thriving right now and industries that will be in a certain amount of flux. I guess the real estate and IT will be two good examples, but I guess your model, it actually affects both of them in a similar way, doesn't it?
Yes, of course. We work with clients from various industries. What I aim of saying is that gathering intelligence and understanding trends and what happens in the external environment helps, but is not sufficient. When we run foresight projects and build scenarios, the most important part, I think, is to bring it home, to bring it to your organization, to your work, because otherwise it's hard to make it actionable, and it's hard to act upon such changes. You were mentioning hindsight at the beginning. Hindsight is a very important phase in any foresight project. It's really crucial to look back before looking forward, because you can identify patterns. You can understand better how we reacted to previous black swans, for example, or how we managed to embrace in a short period of time an initiative or a technology or a behavior that at the beginning seemed so niche and limited, and then it became mainstream. So doing hindsight is really, really important. Now coming to an example, if I think of the real estate market, as you were mentioning, and it's valid for other industries as well, what I think is crucial is to have this outside perspective when building strategies, to look for those factors that are crucial for your industry, but in the same time, they have an uncertain future development. The way that they could look in the future can take various paths. And once you have listed this, and for real estate, what I can think of from a recent project is that we look into, is remote working gonna be a norm, or actually will remain limited to certain industries? Would clients look into having spaces that are more attractive from a cost perspective, or will look into having those type of offices that offer health conditions or workplaces that people feel safe to be in? On another uncertainty is we're looking at the lease terms. How will they react? And when you combine these uncertainties, what you end up with are some unique images of how the future might look. And if I were a resale company, I would really want to be prepared for all of them. Because, you know, now there is a hype that people will embrace remote working. I really think that this is not yet sure. It's still very uncertain how the future development of this will be. I have colleagues that say if they will come back to the office, the first day of the office will be like the first day of holiday after being quarantined at home with 2 kids, or just being isolated. So again, I think it's a lot of uncertainty, and my recommendation, or the way I approach things, is to get prepared for the different alternatives.
I think what you're saying, and don't take this the wrong way, but it reminded me of my mother, because my mother used to say to me, Colin, always make sure you create options in your life. And I guess what you're saying is to organizations is, make sure, and I'm thinking of I do sales coaching, and I think of that sales scenario where a salesperson says to a client something and the client rejects it, and the salesperson hasn't got anything else in that bag to deliver. They've relied on one option. And this is kind of what you're saying, I think, Diana, isn't it? Is make sure you've got those options that you can adapt to. So what is, in terms of, for our listeners, are you saying that companies should completely redefine their strategies, or are the old models that are still in place can be quite effective? They just need to plan them a little bit better.
I think that there is probably not one single way that makes the challenge of leading in uncertain times go away. I think that foresight can be used complementary to other traditional strategy methods that companies are using. However, I think it's important to keep in mind and to not underestimate uncertainty. Because the level of uncertainty can be very differently perceived by companies, and of course depends on the availability of resources and the access to information, but it also depends a bit on the position that a company wants to take. Do you want to adapt to the future, or you want to shape the future? You know, I'm not a hockey expert, but I do remember a saying of a famous hockey player, Gretzky. He said that a good player plays where the puck is. A great player plays where the puck will gonna be. So it depends where companies want to play.
I like it, and I guess the final question for you is, you mentioned about this period of uncertainty. And when I speak to people, I get varied results. I get some people who are actually just waiting to see what happens and then taking action. And there's other ones who want to have this foresight. If there's one bit of advice you would give to the viewers right now, what would it be?
First, I would connect to something that you were saying. Look back before looking forward. Hindsight is very helpful in building future strategies, because most of the information and know-how we have, it's about the past, but we need to take decisions about the future. So it's really important to cover this step. Second one, do not underestimate uncertainty. The future is not predetermined, so I think you better get prepared than predict. Like I was saying earlier, in my opinion, there are no more prices for predicting the future, especially in the current uncertain times. I think the prices will go for those that build this future preparedness. And maybe something more practical, last but really not least, is try to build an internal early warning system, a system or a framework through which you can easily scan the external environment, understand what could be those events, changes that are affecting your industry or your activity, you know, like trigger points. Make sure that you identify them and you monitor them, because this is what might help you to not just observe the future happening, but actually shaping it.
Wow, wow. Very, very profound, and some great advice. Diana, I've thoroughly enjoyed this chat, and with my foresight now that I'm learning, yeah, I'm sure that in the not too distant future, we'll be talking again and really expanding on this. But thank you so much. It's been an enjoyable chat with you, and I'll hand back to Mamas.
Colin, thank you very much. Thank you for the moderation, Colin. Diana, it was really a pleasure to have you today. We really got some very, very wise and useful lessons from you. We, the Greeks, we say that people which they don't learn their history, they are doomed to vanish. And you mentioned this several times, that past, you and also Colin, past matters, and we need to observe the patterns. We need to observe similar situations that happen in the past, in order to, in a way, foresee how the future might look like. And I like that indeed companies, they take this seriously. And this is very, very relevant as well as to the times that we are living this period of time. Thank you both. I really enjoy our talk today, and see you in person very, very soon.